Most people don't have any idea where their food comes from. Sometimes I think they don't want to know. Other times I think that we've just built way too many roadblocks. Sabertooth is my desire to change the conversation around the culinary merit of wild ingredients. We're only using local ingredients here, and for Sabertooth, we're using hyper-local ingredients. We want the menu to evoke a sense of place where we are. And so that is the theme for this dinner. So, you know, Atlanta's obviously, it's a big city, but people don't realize that we have loads of these sort of man-made lakes all over everywhere. I mean, we don't have any natural lakes, so they're all man-made, and they're all over the place. I mean, it's kind of funny to be fishing here. We're in Piedmont Park, which is like fishing in Central Park, literally designed by the same guy, but people catch fish here all the time. As a matter of fact, there's something that I keep getting a bite close to this dock right here, so. When I was thinking about what I wanted to make for this, you know, of course, like, we could do catfish. I love catfish. Most people in the South like catfish. I was talking to my dad. He loves bluegill. And he was like, you should get a bunch of those, which is not, again, not bad. They're really tasty. I don't know. I need a lot of them. But for me, I felt like the goal here was to convince people that certain fish that we don't really think of from a food perspective, because I think people absolutely think of catfish as food, that there were still really good ones out there. And so obviously the one that immediately came to mind, because everybody around here fishes for them, is largemouth bass. But they all fish for them, take a picture of them, measure them, chuck them back in the water, which is good in its own right, you know, catch and release. But by that same token, I don't think they're doing it to be sporting. I think they're doing it because in their mind there's no culinary value to the fish. The rabbits came from Meriwether County, Georgia. The bass is going to come from basically city of Atlanta. The ducks came from Meriwether County, Georgia, the exact same property that the rabbits came from. The whitetail came from that property. The hogs came from that property. And so we have a really, really strong sense of place that isn't overtly obvious, but that at the same time is really important to me, because this speaks to the animals that I, year after year, and that my ancestors, generation after generation, have been attempting to harvest and put on the table for as long as we could all remember. All successful dishes are rooted in a person's ability to find a connection to it. And so they need some degree of familiarity in order to have that humanistic connection to food.
This menu, we probably spent almost a full month and a half just kind of shooting back and forth all day long of who had a cool idea for what. And I'd say this is probably at least the third iteration of it.
Basically the stuff that goes behind this dish is like making a rabbit jus. clarifying the rabbit jus. It takes 4 to 5 days of us just fortifying those processes over and over and over again, and building flavors and using that original roasted rabbit kind of flavor, using every top and tail ingredients and everything, and just kind of keep it going over and over and over again, just building those flavors. How this just looks like crystal clear, like almost like water. So you take that and, you know, when you make a stock at your house, it's not gonna take that kind of clear look to it. It's gonna be red with tomatoes and burnt bone scraps and everything. And then the amount of days we put into this, we might as well go ahead and make it look nice at the end. And when you cut into it, it looks kind of super slick.
I got really sick in 2017. You know, at the height, theoretically, of everything going so well for me, I went into the doctor one day, and I wasn't even feeling bad for that matter. I just went into the doctor like because I had kind of a weird thing going on and thought, I'd probably due for a checkup, and left the doctor learning that I had cancer and I had 10 days to have a life-saving operation. And if we missed that 10-day window of time, that I was just gonna be a dead person, that I was gonna die. And, you know, setting aside like what had to happen, you know, as far as treatment and the ongoing treatment that I still live with every day, it took me out of my restaurant, you know, to get well. And I came to the conclusion then that what I really wanted to do was go back to the things that were important to my family and my childhood. And that was being outdoors and really communing with nature, like understanding your place in the world, very introspective stuff. And so it was, how do I cook that way? Well, to me, that immediately said, well, then I need to re-engage with this history that I have with wild game. You know, it's weird that in the United States, wild game is considered, I don't know, like subpar to something protein-wise, meat-wise that you could buy in a grocery store. And that couldn't be any further from the case, you know, when you look at somewhere like Europe. Like, I was just in Italy, and people were like waiting for wild boar season because it's so special. And here, it's just a throwaway for people. It is gonna be yeah. So, I mean, obviously the major question that I get from folks is like, why this pork over just going to the grocery store and buying some pork chops? And honestly, I think once somebody has a chance to see this meat, and then once they have a chance to taste it, it dispels that mythology entirely. This is something that's so much more special. The flavor is incredible. You know, you see all these trees around here. There's white oak trees dropping acorns every day. That's what these pigs are eating. The flavor is just unreal.
Yeah. So we're going to do a line. So what we do is,
you know, hopefully we get a pig, because like, to me, the easiest, maybe the easiest, most acceptable wild game that you could serve somebody is feral hog.
all right, hey, everybody, gather up. You don't put them on the track. Thank y'all for being here to help me deal with a problem that I've been dealing with for 5 years now, and it's these damn feral hogs. So if you were here last year, you know what you're in for. If you weren't here last year, get ready, because it's wild.
But we got pig tracks through here. Yep. Dead. I didn't know what else to do but put my money where my mouth is, I guess, as it were, and just dive headfirst into this Sabertooth project and try to inspire people to try different things. So, and use the gun show model, which is they'd never order it if we just wrote it on a sheet of paper. So we're gonna make it, and we're gonna take it to them, and we're gonna show them, and we're gonna invite people in to taste these things, and we're gonna change their minds on it through taste. What's up? Good. Grab a sheet tray.
You start getting local proteins from people, they write the pig's name on the tag. And they let you know that kind of stuff, like, oh shit, that's important. Like, you don't just leave something on the back of the stove to let it burn and be like, oh, sorry, just get another one, bring another one. And they're like, no, that thing's dead now. It's gone forever.
I've known since childhood how hard it is to put food on the table. You know, I watched my family spend significant amounts of their personal time trying to grow enough vegetables to feed us, in going out and hunting and fishing regularly to feed us. So this land right here, which clearly, again, is just another warehouse, this was all woods. And in fact, this was the very first place I ever went deer hunting when I was a kid. We would hunt deer right here, and then we'd hunt turkeys right here, where there is now just clearly another crazy, giant, big warehouse. I mean, but again, this was just the woods. But all of this to the right over here, every single, like, last acre of it was planted as a peach orchard. We just literally ride our bikes up here and pick peaches and bring them back home to my granny to make cobbler with or make ice cream. I mean, it literally looks like they just ripped every tree out of the ground. All right, so we're in Locust Grove. We're at my granny's house, actually. When I was a kid, this whole thing was basically just one big giant garden. And it was one of two gardens that we had because my mom and dad had an even bigger one down at our house. But this had a huge impact on the way that we ate because we grew a ton of stuff here. And then our neighbors, the Saunders, who lived right here, they raised pigs and they grew a bunch of vegetables. And so we trade back and forth. So these are a couple of the big pecan trees. There used to be more. There was another one there, and maybe another one just a little bit further down. You know, it's very different today because most people just buy their stuff from the store.
Right.
And when you think about, you know, it's very important in this part of the world in the South that you cook for your family and you make these big meals. And obviously, as a professional, that's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
But it's very different because nowadays people are not very aware of where their food comes from. They don't know. They just go buy it at the store. They have no idea where it came from.
Yeah.
But when you were young, everything you ate came from pretty close, I would assume. Like you knew
where it came from. Yeah. I mostly knew where all my food comes from.
So the first course that you guys are going to taste tonight are cottontail rabbits. And so we have turned these into a very traditional terrine where we've cooked the meat for a long time so it's very tender. We've then set it in its own juices, effectively. We're serving this, you know, traditional terrine garnish is mustard and bread. So we've sort of taken this a little bit differently. We're making a roasted cabbage and mustard ice cream.
Good with it? Perfect.
The second course is what we're calling a mosaic of largemouth bass. We've filleted these fish and kind of done a technique where we've preserved the integrity of the fillets, but we've sort of wrapped multiple fillets around each other. They're coated in almost like an ash made with seaweed and charred like garlic leeks. And then it's poached and served with a sauce of preserved lemon and then some green tomatoes that we put up a couple years ago. I have to get out there and I have to put a lot of effort into harvesting it. And when I put that effort in, and then I take that same amount of effort and I put it into the work of preparing the food, somehow, even if it's sort of osmotically, that energy transfers from me into the people who taste the food, who watch videos of us doing it, who participate in any capacity in this Sabertooth project. The third course are wood duck. We've taken them apart and done a lot of different stuff. So we have, the legs have been confit, so meaning they've been slow cooked and they'll be picked up on the grill. The breasts have been dry aged for a couple weeks now, and then they'll just be roasted what we call on the cage. So on the bones, they never go in the oven. We'll just continue to ladle screaming hot duck fat over the top of them until they're cooked enough, and then we'll carve them off the bones. And we're serving it with some satsuma, some puffed sorghum, and then a duck donut. So we've made donuts out of the fat from these ducks.
We added a little bit of duck fat to it, a little savory. It's gonna have that little bit to it where you're gonna eat it and it's gonna be like, this is not a normal donut, and you can't really typically pinpoint unless somebody says it.
I think it will prompt them to ask the question themselves, do I even know where the food that I eat comes from? And I hope the answer is yes, but if it's no, my hope is that it will then be followed up by saying, well, you know what, from now on I will. The next course is whitetail deer. We've made an Argentine-style chorizo out of this. We've studded the chorizo with cured pieces of fat from the feral hog that you'll eat in the following course. We've then wrapped it in the loin of the venison that we've cured, and then we've wrapped that in basically hash browns and deep fried it in beef fat so it tastes like a McDonald's French fry. And then we're gonna top it with an egg and some chimichurri and then a bordelaise, basically a blood sauce made from the deer itself. The Sabertooth project, despite being a dive into the deep end, is also saying to people, it's okay to start somewhere. What we have in here is a loin that's been marinated in ginger and scallion that will be cooked over white charcoal. Then we have a preparation on the belly. We took the belly of the entire animal, cut it into 8 pieces, and then effectively glued it back together, cooked it, pressed it, cooled it, sliced it, and then are cooking it down in turmeric and fermented black bean paste and Shaoxing wine. That will be served alongside some fried and then marinated peanuts and turnips that have been cooked in Chinese hot mustard. And then the shoulder has been marinated almost char siu style, smoked over hickory wood, served with marinated radishes. The radishes are from the field that the hogs rooted up, and then a little sort of scallion pancake to go along with it. You don't have to start at 100, you can start at 1. You can try one thing. You can find one way to connect. It's more about asking why than it is about having to make some wholesale change in your life overnight. I don't expect that of anybody. It certainly didn't happen for me. This has taken years to bring to this place. It's the only way we're gonna solve the millions of problems that we have inside this sort of sustainable food world is if more people care.